Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and I'm an attorney working for a court of law in Switzerland. And today I will talk about health insurance in Switzerland and about all important aspects of it. So if you are living in Switzerland, if you plan to live here someday, or if you want to learn about health insurance in general and how to save money on it, then this video is definitely for you. In Switzerland, the costs for health insurance are very expensive, but it is mandatory to have it here. Yet for most people, the costs that they pay for their health insurance figure amongst their highest expenses every month. In fact, the average costs for health insurance in Switzerland in the year 2023 were 330 Swiss francs per month per person. And that is for the mandatory basic health insurance that you have to have. But I will talk some more about the costs later in this video. I will also point out all other aspects regarding health insurance in Switzerland that I think are very important, such as the following: how to choose it, what to look out for, what deductible to choose, and many more. I'm also going to point out 3 ways that may save you some money on your health insurance in Switzerland. And as always, if you have any remaining questions at the end of this video, you can leave them in the comment section down below and I will get back to you. So let's get started and ask ourselves, what compulsory, meaning what mandatory health insurance do you need to get in Switzerland? You need to get basic or compulsory health insurance here, which provides benefits in the case of illness, accident, or maternity. And it is important to mention here that all healthcare providers in Switzerland which offer compulsory, meaning mandatory basic health insurance, have to offer the same scope of benefits which is regulated by the law. That means that no matter which company you choose to get your basic health insurance in Switzerland from, they will all cover the same services. And there are currently about 50 different healthcare insurance providers in Switzerland to choose from. But while the services that are offered by these health insurance providers are the same for all of them, there is a big difference in my experience when it comes to customer service. In the past, I had to deal with several cases where people chose the cheapest health insurance in Switzerland on the market solely based on its price. This was all good until they started having the first health issues. And then things started to get really complicated because their healthcare providers did not make the payments that they were supposed to make. They did not get back to their clients if they tried to call them or wrote them emails, and they were just really hard to reach out to in general. So that is definitely something that you want to bear in mind if you choose your health insurance. Make sure to do some research, look at a few customer reviews, because if you ever get really sick, these issues are the last thing that you want to deal with on top of everything else. We're now getting to another topic, which is supplementary health insurance in Switzerland. Besides the basic compulsory health insurance that we talked about before, healthcare providers in Switzerland also offer supplementary health insurance, which is not compulsory, meaning that is not mandatory to have. And this covers things such as a private ward at the hospital, the costs of vaccinations, for alternative medicine or for medical treatment abroad, including repatriations, or it allows you a free choice of doctor or of a hospital. Further, it can cover some of your yearly expenses for sports, for instance if you go to the gym, or it can pay for your contacts and/or glasses. And there are many other benefits available. In my personal experience, having such supplementary insurance in Switzerland is very important, especially for 2 things. Number 1 is medical treatment abroad, including repatriations, because if you ever get really sick and into a severe medical condition abroad, you want to make sure that you have the best medical treatment there and that they bring you back to Switzerland without you facing humongous costs here once you are back. What I also find very important to have in Switzerland, and what I always include in my supplementary insurance here, is number 2, the free choice of doctors. Because once again, if you ever get really sick, you want to make sure that you get the best treatment of your choice by the best surgeon or doctor of your choice. However, there is no guarantee that you can get supplementary insurance in Switzerland, because other than with the basic compulsory health insurance that you need to have in Switzerland, for the supplementary insurance, healthcare providers are allowed to ask you a bunch of questions regarding your health, your previous medical history, etc., etc. And they are then allowed to make the decision about taking you on as a client or not based on your answers. So if you had severe health issues in the past, it is unfortunately very likely that health insurance providers in Switzerland will not accept you as a client for supplementary health insurance in Switzerland. In the next step, let's look at the costs of health insurance in Switzerland. While the average monthly costs in Switzerland for the basic compulsory health insurance here are 330 Swiss francs per month, this depends highly on the canton that you live in and even on the area of the canton. It will be a lot more expensive if you live in a city compared to if you live on the countryside. Besides that, the price will also vary a lot between the different providers of health insurance. On top of that, there is also different models of health insurance that you can choose in Switzerland. That means that, for instance, you can choose the following: that you always need to see a specific doctor first, that you always have to call a medical hotline of the insurance first when you're sick before they tell you if and where to get a consultation with a doctor, that you always go to a specific medical center to get treatment or a diagnosis there, or you choose to have a free choice of doctor every time that you are sick. But this option is going to be really expensive. Regarding these options, I cannot tell you which one is best for you because it is highly individual what services you wish to have if you get sick. But what I can tell you is that I chose the medical center option for myself and I've been pretty happy with that for a while now. Another important point to look at when talking about the costs of health insurance in Switzerland is that your monthly costs for your basic, meaning for your compulsory, mandatory health insurance in Switzerland that you have to have, depend on your yearly deductible that you choose. The deductible is the amount of money that you will have to pay yourself if you have to pay for medical costs. In Switzerland, there are 6 deductibles to choose from for the compulsory, meaning the basic mandatory health insurance for adults. As you can see, they vary between 300 francs as the minimum and 2,500 francs as the maximum per year. For children, there are 7 options to choose from, and they vary between 0 Swiss francs per year and 600 Swiss francs per year. Now, the reason why you can choose different deductibles is the price of your monthly health insurance premium. The lower your monthly deductible is, the higher your monthly premium is, and the other way around. If you chose the highest deductible possible, meaning 2,500 Swiss francs per year, that means that on the other hand, your monthly premium will be as low as it possibly can be with the health insurance provider of your choice. Now, there is something very important to point out here. Financially, it only makes sense to either choose the highest deductible of 2,500 Swiss francs a year or the lowest deductible of 300 Swiss francs a year. Do not choose anything else in between. For all the other deductibles in between, whether this is 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, 1,500 bucks or 2,000 bucks, it is not worth it from a financial point of view because the discount that you get on your premium is too little. You want to choose the lowest deductible possible, meaning the 300 Swiss franc deductible per year if you have regular health issues or if you have regularly occurring medical bills. A very general rule of thumb here is if you have yearly costs for your health or for medical bills that are more than 1,900 Swiss francs, go low. That means choose the deductible of 300 Swiss francs per year to financially make the best choice. If you do this, that means if you get medical bills, you will have to pay the first 300 Swiss francs yourself because that is your deductible. Your health insurance will not pay anything before you paid this amount of money. But after you have paid these 300 Swiss francs, whether this was for one bill of 500 francs or for 3 individual bills of 100 Swiss francs each, you will then only have to pay 10% of all future medical bills that you will receive in the same year. That means that if you get another medical bill of, let's say, 400 Swiss francs after you paid your deductible, you will only have to pay 10% of that and therefore only 40 Swiss francs. The rest will be paid for by your health insurance. But one way or another, once that you have paid your yearly deductible, you will only have to pay a maximum of 700 Swiss francs extra per year as an adult. For children, these extra costs that you will have to pay after you paid their deductible are limited to a maximum of 350 Swiss francs per year. Now let's look at the second option, which makes sense financially, and that is if you choose the highest deductible possible, meaning a yearly deductible of 2,500 Swiss francs per year, which will lead to you paying the lowest monthly premium. This is what you want to do if you are pretty healthy and if you have barely any expenses per year for your health, which is typically the case when you're pretty young. With this option again, out of all of your medical bills, you will have to pay the first 2,500 Swiss francs yourself because again, that is the deductible that you chose. Your health insurance will not pay anything before you paid the first 2,500 Swiss francs. But on the other hand, your monthly premium will be significantly less. I know that for myself, the difference of the monthly premium is about 100 Swiss francs, depending on whether I choose the highest or the lowest deductible per year. But as I mentioned earlier, this does depend on your health insurance provider and on where you live. There is one more very important aspect that I would like to mention here. While you can change your deductible pretty easy when you're young, this is not the case for forever. The older you get, the lower the chances that your health insurance provider will agree on lowering your deductible to the minimum. And once you were really sick, meaning you have had a severe medical complication, forget about it, you are done. You're not going to have any chance to lower your deductible after that. And that is legally not forbidden because it is a two-party contract between your insurance and you. I therefore strongly recommend you to get the lowest deductible the latest when you are in your early 30s. Otherwise, you risk that your health insurance provider will not accept to lower that deductible ever, which means that for the rest of your life in Switzerland, you will have to pay the highest deductible of 2,500 Swiss francs. For women, it is particularly important to get the lowest deductible in Switzerland before they give birth to their first child. Because childbirth, medically speaking, is a high-risk event, so if you have any complications, again, you're done. You're not going to get a chance to lower that deductible afterwards. For children, the opinion is that saving costs on a deductible for health insurance is not really worth it. And in my personal opinion, I very much agree on that. Because let's face it, if your kid is sick, you want to make sure to get all necessary treatment without having to worry about its costs or worrying about what influence these costs are going to have on the deductible. So my opinion is very clear. For children, get the lowest deductible of 0 Swiss francs. So far so good, but now let's talk about another point, which is whether you can change your health insurance provider in Switzerland and when you can do that. A quick note here first, in Switzerland you do not have to have your basic, meaning your compulsory health insurance, with the same company as your supplementary health insurance. That means you can have both of them, but with two different companies. If you want to change the provider for your basic, meaning for your compulsory health insurance here, you have to let them know by the end of November latest, otherwise you have to wait another year before you can switch. By the same time, you will have to have decided with which health insurance provider you want to be insured instead, because you always need one. And as I said earlier, everybody in Switzerland has to have basic compulsory health insurance, which means no health insurance provider in Switzerland can turn you down if you want to switch. So there's nothing to worry about here. Now for supplementary health insurance in Switzerland, the situation is different. Because as I mentioned earlier, health insurance providers are not obligated to take you on as their client for supplementary health insurance. So before you quit the supplementary health insurance that you have with your current provider, make sure that you have a written confirmation that you will be accepted as a client by the new health insurance provider of your choice. If that is okay and if they accept you as a new client, make sure to check your contract quickly, but you should be able to end the contract with your current health insurance provider for supplementary health insurance by the end of September. So once again, bear in mind, if you want to change your provider for your health insurance, you need to do this for the basic compulsory health insurance by the end of November. On the other hand, you need to do it by the end of September for your supplementary health insurance. And by the way, if you do this, always do it in writing and always send it with the track and trace service of the Swiss Post to make sure that you have proof that your termination of contract was received in time. Moving on to the next point, how do you actually find out which health insurance provider in Switzerland is the cheapest for you? For this, I strongly recommend you to use a website called Comparis or Compares in English. On this, you can very easily compare the different prices of the different health insurance providers in Switzerland. And by the way, this works great for taxes too. But for comparing health insurances in Switzerland, you simply enter some basic information such as your age and zip code, and you can then easily compare the prices of different health insurance providers in Switzerland. For choosing your basic, meaning your compulsory health insurance in Switzerland, which you can change every year if you're willing to do the paperwork, this is pretty much all you need to do. Just simply look which one is the cheapest one, make sure to double check a couple reviews to make sure that their customer service is not a disaster, and there you go. For your supplementary health insurance, you will probably want to do a little more research just to make sure that you have the same benefits covered as you did before, but get it cheaper. And remember, don't quit your supplementary insurance with your current provider before you have the confirmation from your new provider that you are accepted as a client. Now we're getting to the last point that I would like to talk about today, and that is 3 ways that may save you some money on health insurance in Switzerland. Number 1, if you have this covered with your health insurance, cancel your coverage for accidents if you work in Switzerland for more than 8 hours per week for one employer. If you don't do this, you will pay an extra 30 Swiss francs per month for nothing. The reason for this is that if you work more than 8 hours per week for the same employer in Switzerland, he or she will have to get an insurance for you for accidents, regardless whether they occur during work or outside of work hours. But you have to be careful here if you work for different employers. Meaning, for instance, if you are a student that teaches other students every now and then, or if you clean a few hours per week but in different households. In these cases, you are most likely not insured for accidents unless you made an explicit agreement with one of your employers about it. If this is not the case, and if you work less than 8 hours per week in Switzerland for one employer, meaning if you work less than 8 hours, or if you work for different employers, it is very important to make sure that coverage for accidents is included in your health insurance. Otherwise, you will have a huge problem if you ever get into an accident, because you will have to pay for all the costs yourself. Moving on to tip number 2 on saving money on health insurance in Switzerland. And that tip is simple but efficient, and it is move to another location. As I mentioned earlier, monthly costs for health insurance vary quite a bit depending on where you live. And often, if you move into an area where you pay less for your health insurance, that often means that you also pay less for taxes there. This is the case if you move to another canton, for example. Therefore, check that out, especially if you plan to move anyways. Of course, with this tip, you also need to make sure that your other monthly costs won't go up instead. For example, if you save 50 Swiss francs per month on health insurance after a move, but you need a car now, which you did not need before, this will not work out for you because your monthly expenses are going to be a lot higher than before. With this, I'm getting to the third and last tip on saving money on health insurance in Switzerland, and that is to apply for a premium reduction if you qualify for it. Whether that is the case or not is different in every canton. But if your income in Switzerland is low, and if you feel like you cannot cover your basic needs with it, make sure to check out if you qualify for a full or at least for a partial premium reduction with your health insurance in the canton that you're living in. For instance, in the canton of Bern, you will not have to pay the full price for your health insurance if you earn less than 35,000 Swiss francs per year or less than 45,000 Swiss francs a year if you have children. So with this, we're getting to the end of today's video. But as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate and write them in the comment section. Otherwise, I really hope that you were able to learn something from this video. If you liked it, feel free to share it and/or give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any videos in the future. With this, all the best guys, and I hope to be talking to you again soon.